heard around the world on your Android and Apple mobile devices.
The Simple Truth, rising up to explore the difficult topics of real life. Join us as we proclaim the good, the true, and the beautiful with the simple truth of Jesus Christ and His holy Catholic Church through Scripture, tradition, and the Catechism. And now, your host, Jim Havens.
It is great to be back with you on The Simple Truth, where we proclaim the life-giving reality of Jesus and His Catholic Church. We consecrate everything to the Sacred Heart of Jesus through the Immaculate Heart of Mary and the pure, strong heart of St. Joseph. It is Catholic Family Men Monday, where we primarily direct the content to men, most especially to those of us who are called to the vocation of marriage and family, in order to build up husbands and fathers in Christ, to bless the family, and to sanctify the world. But make no mistake, everyone is most certainly welcome to listen in and or watch. Plenty here that is valuable and applicable to all. Especially today, we're going to get into some highlights from the Men's March, the National Men's March to End Abortion and Personhood Rally that took place a couple Saturdays ago now down in Tallahassee, Florida. A big event, a lot of graces poured out that day, and we're not going to be able to obviously share the whole event with you, but little snippets, little highlights, little pieces from various speakers, the various featured speakers that we had. We didn't have a lot of professional, I guess, videography going on, but we had some great amateur videography, I think, at least somewhat, that has been getting to me, pictures that have been getting to me. We're trying to update the website, themensmarch.com, as we go. But in front of the abortion center where we started things off, actually we're in front of a pregnancy resource center, which was just in front of where this abortion center was hidden in the back of this plaza, unmarked, no signage, just in the darkness, as a lot of these places often are. And then you have the Pregnancy Resource Center up front by the main road, and that's where we stood out by the main road, so we could have a witness to all the cars driving by. And some powerful words were spoken there. We're not going to be able to bring you any of that. The sound quality on the footage that we have there is not the greatest. And then the march took place, a little over 3 miles long. And again, we'll put up on the website the footage that we have of the march. If you want to take a look at that, there's some great stuff there to give you a sense of it. But obviously, there's no substitute from actually being there at those events. So men, as you listen to this, understand it, as we perhaps, hopefully, God willing, will have upcoming events and more opportunities to plug into this movement, this National Men's March and rally movement that we're doing for personhood, for the preborn, and standing up for the pregnant moms in need as well, combating this lie of abortion. Make the most of these opportunities. There's nothing like being there. But we're going to give you a taste of what happened when we got to the rally point with some of our featured speakers. I was able to turn my phone on and capture some of this. So we're going to go first up to Pam Stenzel, who is just simply phenomenal. She does it all. She's on the ground every day. And to me, as far as a pro-life spokesperson for today, I can think of truly nobody better than Pam Stenzel to be a spokesperson for the pro-life movement today. You're going to get a sense of it in this clip from her talk that she gave at the rally. Here it is.
I've been involved in the pro-life movement my entire life, and all of us typically get involved for life and speaking for life and leading on life, typically because it's personal. For me, it was no different. 56 years ago, a young 15-year-old girl became pregnant. She had a lot of difficult choices to make, maybe more so than some teen girls. She was raped. But this 15-year-old girl chose to give her child life and then to place that child with an adoptive family. And that child was me. My biological father is a rapist. I don't even know my ethnicity, but I am still a human being. Amen. And I still have value. And my life is not worth less than yours just because of the way I was conceived. And I do not believe that I deserve the death penalty because of the crime of my biological father. And I have listened to the rhetoric my whole life. My whole life I've listened to people say, well, every child should be wanted and planned. I've heard this said in the church. Well, I wouldn't have an abortion. That's horrible. I wouldn't kill my child. But if it were rape, you're a mistake, Pam. I don't believe that. I believe that every child is wanted by someone, and I believe that God in his mercy had a plan for me. I have not met my birth mom. Someday I hope to. She is my hero. If I don't meet her here on earth, I'm going to meet her in heaven. I've been praying for her since I was 4 years old. And someday when we meet, I'm going to wrap my arms around her and I'm going to tell her I love her, because she loved me. Loved me enough to give me my life, and then loved me enough to give me the next most special gift I was ever given, and that's my family. I'm the oldest of 8 children, 7 of us adopted. Every color of the rainbow in my family. We are the United Nations by ourselves. And I know that my amazing godly family was a gift from a very scared 15-year-old girl. I have spent my life walking alongside women experiencing crisis pregnancies because I know that what my birth mother needed in that horrible moment of trauma was not to have me violently ripped from her womb, not to repay violence with more violence. What she needed was someone to love her. What she needed was someone to come alongside her, someone to say, we're going to be here for you. You don't have to do this alone. We will walk with you. What she needed was love and protection, not the violence of abortion. When you advocate abortion in the case of rape, you're not only killing an innocent child, you are further damaging the woman. The only person you are helping in that situation is the rapist. The only person who wins is the rapist. And that's why it's so important that we are clear when we communicate the reasons for not accepting rape as an exception. And I've had to deal with this at every level, federal, state level, when we pass laws, and some of our pro-life counterparts call their law pro-life, and then immediately, no matter the tiniest law you can imagine, from parental notification, they throw in except in the cases of rape. And they take an entire group of human beings and throw us under the bus and say our lives don't matter and my life doesn't deserve protection simply because of the way in which I was conceived. That has to end, and that's why personhood is so desperately important. It makes 0 exceptions, none. This is a person created in the image of God from the moment of conception until natural death. Now, can I say this because it's the Men's March and because I'm the sex lady? So, I firmly believe that God's called men to lead. You are called to be our protector. And when we talk about these issues, from sexuality to abortion to all these issues, the people being most damaged are women. And the people needing of protection are women, and that's what God called you to do. You have a voice. You must have a voice. Don't dare tell the culture because of your certain body parts, you're not allowed to speak on this issue. You are not only allowed to speak, you must speak, and you must lead, and you must show a generation of young men what it means to treat women with honor and respect. And that's what God's calling you to do, to be our protectors, to be our champions, to be our leaders. Yes, for the unborn, but for women as well. We need honorable husbands and fathers and sons and men of God. And so I'm just calling on you to take up that mantle and be that man of God and be it vocally. And you know what? If you get too much pushback from this culture that you can't have a thing because you don't have a uterus, just identify as a woman and keep on going. All right? God bless you.
All right, so powerful words there from Pam Stenzel at the National Men's March to End Abortion at the Personhood Rally there on June 11th, a couple Saturdays ago now in Tallahassee, Florida. And Pam, if you want to learn more about her, we did do a Testimony Tuesday with Pam Stenzel some months ago. You can go back and find that. But also, she is the founder of Enlightened Communications. You can find that by going to enlightencom.com, enlightencom.com. But very, very powerful, embodying in her witness clearly the reason why exceptions in the case of rape, which some people who call themselves pro-life and maybe by degrees, maybe they're starting to understand the evil of abortion, the wrongness of abortion, and they're becoming more pro-life, but they're still hanging on to this horrible idea that there should be exceptions where murdering the child in the womb would be a good idea, for instance, in the case of rapes. And so rape, horribly evil, and you don't help a horribly evil thing, a horrible evil that has occurred. You don't help that by committing another horrible evil. We've got to speak the truth on this. Once a child is conceived, this is a human being. It's not their fault, the conditions for which they were conceived. This is a child just like each and every one of us was from conception, fertilization onward, and we have no right to be able to directly go and kill that child. And Pam is saying, look, I wouldn't be here if my mom made that choice. I am the result of this horrible situation of rape, but then I came into being, and my life is of value, and of course it is. And we can see that as she's born and is a grown woman doing great things. Of course, we can see that her life is of great value, but this is being hidden in the womb. And when people are saying, except for the case of rape, they're talking about Pam. They're talking about real human beings, real human persons. We must stand up for them. We must stand up for one another. And this goes for all of us from 1973 onward, maybe if you lived in New York since 1970 onward, right, where the government is telling the mothers that it is legal, it is good, it is okay, a viable choice, a good choice to murder the child in the womb. We could have been murdered in our wombs if we were born after that fact, murdered in the wombs of our mothers, and society would have been okay with that. That is wrong. That is evil. We must say no. Personhood now. We'll be right back.
This is Jesse Romero, host of Jesus 911, heard weekdays at 2 p.m. Eastern. I'm joined each day by a variety of co-hosts like Ruben Nava, Paul Clay, Dan Schneider, and my amazing wife, Anita Romero. We tackle Catholic devotions, spiritual warfare, family life, saving America, and everything in between. Join us each weekday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific for Jesus 911. You can also catch a bonus encore Saturdays at noon Eastern. God bless you. Keep the faith.
Are you holding on to an old car or truck because you think dealers won't want it? Then consider donating it to the Station of the Cross Catholic Radio Network. This is a great way to turn your unvalued vehicle into a powerful gift for Catholic radio. You'll be taking part in our evangelization efforts to continue spreading Christ's love throughout the world. Our Lord uses Catholic radio to draw more people to Himself, and one of the best ways to support the Station of the Cross is by contributing to our vehicle donation program. The process is safe and simple. Your generosity will greatly benefit our mission to bring the truths of the Catholic faith to countless listeners. To find out more or to donate your vehicle today, visit thestationofthecross.com or call 1-866-628-CARS. That's thestationofthecross.com or 1-866-628-2277.
Do you love listening to the Station of the Cross on your car radio, but sometimes find yourself driving outside the listening area? Never miss another minute of your favorite show. Download the iCatholic Radio app so you can listen anywhere in the world 24 hours a day. The iCatholic Radio app is available for your phone in the Apple Store or for your Android phone in Google Play. Visit thestationofthecross.com for more information.
Welcome back to The Simple Truth. Jim Havens here on this Catholic Family Men Monday. Men, it is true we have to fulfill our offices of husband and father. If you are a husband and a father, if you have said yes to this vocation to which the Lord has led you, well, then we must not just say yes one time at marriage, but we must say yes every day to that marriage, to the responsibilities of being a spouse, of being a father. Just had Father's Day yesterday, not just a day to celebrate dads. It's a good day for that, I suppose, but all the more, men, it's a good day for us to remember our responsibility. Yes, we are fathers, we have responsibilities, and we must work in participation with God's grace to our full capacity, our full effort to fulfill that role, to fulfill that office as husband and as father. And so very, very important, the Men's March to end abortion and the personhood rally that took place in Tallahassee, Florida, a couple Saturdays ago. We're going through some highlights on that now, some of our featured speakers, but that's also about us men rising up, fulfilling our offices as husbands and fathers, and also those men who are called to the priestly life, to be priests, men who are called to be bishops. They've got to fulfill their role as well, and we've got to call them on accordingly also. And so, look, we all have to be who we are made to be by God's grace. Let's enter into that vocation. Stop making excuses. Take responsibility. Repent for where we've gone wrong, for things that we haven't done, for things we have done, and make a new resolve to do more than we've ever done before, and understand that we are living in this time where we have an ongoing mass murder of innocent human beings that is going on by the thousands in our nation alone every single day. And we're being told lies about it, that these are not persons. These human beings, they're less valuable than us. We can just discard them, throw them away like trash. No big deal. In fact, it's good. And given all sorts of horrible reasons why that might be the case, it's not the case. It's evil. It's wrong. One day people are going to wake up to this in a big way. Hopefully we're getting closer and closer to that every day, where they will look back and say, what barbarity, what horrendous attitudes towards life were going on during that time. Where were the people standing up and doing whatever they could to try to end it? Do you want to be a part of that or not? Men, we are called to be a part of that. We must have the integrity to fulfill our offices as husband and father, as priest, as bishop, whatever it might be, and also to go forth and do whatever we can to push forward to the end of this ongoing daily mass murder of abortion that we are living through. Let's make it illegal in law, unthinkable in culture, and do whatever we can to push it in that direction. And these men's marches and these personhood rallies, that's what this is all about. Walter Hoy is a speaker who's been at every single one that we've had thus far, and a shout out to all those men, a tip of the hat to all those men who have come to every single men's march that we've had thus far, the 3 national men's marches, DC, Baltimore, Tallahassee. Quite a great bond going on with that core group of men, and it's a wonderful thing to see. Well, Walter Hoy spoke once again at the rally a couple Saturdays ago in Tallahassee. Let's listen to it. Let's listen into it here. We'll catch Walter in the early part of his talk and go on from there. Here it is, Walter Hoy.
And white Americans from the North hung, bled, and died that black Americans would be free. And so I'll never forget the lessons my grandfather taught me. I've learned to appreciate all of us, and it's made a huge difference in my life. We got the 1860 Civil War, but in 1865, we've got victory. We've got victory. It was clear during the Civil War that we were fighting to end slavery. In 1865, we achieved victory, but it wasn't over yet for black Americans. Yeah, we got the victory in 1865, but in 1865, after the war, Congress passed the 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment made slavery for humans illegal in America. If you were human, slavery was not allowed, not here in this country. You would think that slavery finally ended. And amen for that, yeah. But it wasn't over yet. In 1866, you've got the 14th Amendment, and something special happens. Yes, Slavery's done. Can't be slaves in America anymore, but in 1866, the 14th Amendment was passed. And the 14th Amendment said that black Americans were persons. They redefined persons. And because we were considered persons now, personhood was clear now, all of the United States of America's Constitution applied to us. So whenever you read person in the United States of America's Constitution, yeah, that included black Americans. Lord have mercy. And because we were persons now, legally persons, the 15th Amendment passed in 1869 gave us the right to vote. Now, because we are persons, because we were legal citizens of the United States of America, protected by the United States of America's Constitution, we have the right to vote. Lord have mercy. And that changed our lives, my grandfather's life, immensely. It changed everything. You see, the other side likes to use the fact that babies aren't persons. Infants aren't persons. Nothing more than fetal tissue, nothing more than a clump of cells. They're not persons because if they recognize them as persons, they're protected by the United States Constitution just like black Americans were. If the pro-life movement is going to go forward, if the pro-life movement is going to end abortion in America today, the pro-life movement needs to embrace personhood at every level. I'm hoping that Roe and Doe are reversed soon. Soon. But let me tell you what I'm hoping for more. It's how they reverse it. If they reverse it simply on some legal precedents of whatever kind you can think of, fill in the blank. And they don't reverse it based on the 14th Amendment. Lord have mercy. That gives every state in the Union the privilege, if you will, the ability, the right to legalize abortion in their state. But if Roe is reversed, and it's reversed based on the 14th Amendment, personhood, oh my goodness, abortion will finally become illegal here in America. The child in the womb will finally be free. We will see a new birth of life in America. It will be a victory that's unprecedented. This is particularly important to me because abortion in my community is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's gotten to the point that black Americans are no longer even replacing themselves. If you don't know, any demographic, if they want to continue, to maintain, not grow larger as the sand on the sea or the stars in the sky, or not become fewer, less. If they just want to maintain, they've got to maintain a total fertility rate of 2.1. That's the replacement level. Abortion has taken such a toll in my community that black America has plummeted all the way down to 1.7. We're below the minimum replacement level. If black America doesn't embrace life, if America doesn't come together and embrace personhood, Lord have mercy. It is possible that we can continue to plummet. And when you get down to about 1.4, 1.3, that's known as irreversibility. It's over. let me leave you with this. There is such a thing as too late. Let me say that one more time. Jay, there is such a thing as too late. It's too late. You see, without life, nothing matters. Nothing matters. You may have a free world waiting for you when you get out the womb. But if you can't get out the womb, nothing matters. You may have a mom and a dad. You may have a wonderful family waiting on you. You may have a brother. Strong family relationship just waiting for you to come out the womb. But if you can't get out the womb, nothing matters. You may have a job waiting on you. You may have a business waiting on you. You may have an education waiting on you. It could all be waiting on you. But if you can't get out the womb, nothing matters. Without life, nothing matters. God bless you.
All right, there's Walter Hoy laying it out in the way that only he can. Tremendously done by Walter Hoy. You can find out more about Walter, his good work at issuesforlife.org, issues4life.org. And he gives us a bit of a history lesson going through in the beginning of that, of those remarks there. And one thing I want to point out here is that this is the trajectory of evils that are baked into the culture, evils that are legal, how to get them to be illegal and unthinkable. Some people will look at abortion in our time and say, oh, you want to end it? You're never going to be able to end it, right? And well, we can point to the example of slavery. That's what people said when slavery was legal and baked into American culture, part of the entire economic engine of the culture of America at that time. And now, look, abortion is certainly baked in, certainly to the political money and so much more into society. I actually think it's going to be easier to end abortion than slavery in the terms of how ensconced slavery was into the culture versus abortion. I think slavery was even more baked in than abortion is. And so look, if you look at slavery, again, people said it at the time, you're never going to end it, right? And people say it now about abortion, you're never going to end it. We can look at slavery. It is now illegal. It is now unthinkable. Nobody's arguing for it, right? And the same will be the case with abortion if we step up as the abolitionists that we are called to in our time and put the sacrifice of love necessary into doing what it takes to push on to the end of this, to make it illegal and then to make it unthinkable in culture. That making it illegal is a big domino that's going to affect the culture in a big way and help us to push forward to making it unthinkable. We all have a role to play. Even if it's in small ways, we have a role to play. Let's be faithful to that role. Let's be honest about that role. We're going to be right back with more highlights from the Men's March. Stay tuned.
This is Life News Radio. I'm Jim Anderson. Late last week, the FBI, after over 52 cases of alleged federal crimes by abortion advocates against churches, pregnancy support centers, and political offices, has finally opened an investigation. Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton, a Senate leader overseeing efforts against crime and terrorism, addressed a harsh letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland demanding his resignation, especially if Garland was unwilling to protect Americans from these attacks. With abortion industry researchers predicting that 25% or over 200 abortion businesses could close if Roe is indeed overturned, a second Planned Parenthood in the last week has stopped abortion operations. The Associated Press tells of one Planned Parenthood exec lamenting that abortion might end, saying, "The unknown has been difficult." This is Life News Radio. A culture of life has a rarely mentioned but very formidable enemy. Pornography is material that deceives its consumers into thinking that they possess beauty, while the reality is they are possessed by a lie. The first step may be to talk openly with your pastor or confessor, reject the lie, and recognize that a culture of life relies upon you. In other stories, reports began circulating last week that President Biden might attempt to federalize abortion in states that did not do his bidding regarding abortion. But Florida Senator Marco Rubio says he will do everything he can to put roadblocks to what he calls White House overreach. Operation Rescue's latest allegations of medical ineptitude or malpractice in abortion is chilling. The account at Life News involves botched abortions, cover-ups, and President Troy Newman's assessment of dangers to women in abortion. For pro-life headlines delivered to your email address daily, sign up at lifenews.com. This has been Life News Radio.
Welcome back to The Simple Truth. Jim Havens here, sharing some highlights from the Men's March, the National Men's March to End Abortion that we had in Tallahassee a couple Saturdays ago on June 11th, and the Personhood Rally. Marched up to the rally point and then had some speakers there right in front of the Florida Capitol building. Our messages were clear. We want our politicians, we want our religious leaders, we want all of us to step up and to lead on life. It's not a secondary issue. It's the first issue. It's the preeminent issue. Let's lead on life. That's what we're calling for all of us to do. And the very clear message that what does it mean to lead on life? It means to say, look, we need personhood now, constitutional personhood for the child in the womb from conception, fertilization. Every human being begins at conception, fertilization. It's a scientific fact. So then we have to answer the question, do we want to live in a society where it's okay to murder innocent human beings and murder innocent human persons? By the way, human being and human person are synonymous terms. The pro-abortion folks will want to try to confuse people to say, oh, well, they may be a human being scientifically, but they're not a human person. Although that has a horrible track record trying to do that philosophically and say, well, this is a human being, yes, but not a human person, and therefore we can treat them however we want, including enslave them, including kill them, whatever we want to do. It's just a way to be able to control people, to have power over people. There's no truth in it. Every human being is a human person. Don't fall for all that nonsense. And so there's no reason that we ought not protect every child in the womb from conception, fertilization, and we're all, again, that size once from conception, fertilization. It's not complicated. So we have to have the education piece for ourselves. There's not a lot that we need to know, but there are some simple points we need to know. The scientific fact of life beginning at conception, fertilization, the fact that every human being is a human person. There's no way to separate it, and to do so leads to very evil ideas about how a human being can be treated because we say they're not a human person. That's not going to work. That's awful. And then we get into this. Terry Beatley laying out the power of story, the power of understanding a little bit of how the American people were manipulated at the very beginning of all of this. They fell for the lie of abortion because it was sold to them. They were manipulated by the media, and that happened through the willing participation, the willing leadership of Dr. Bernard Nathanson. He would eventually become pro-life and become a great help for us. But in the beginning, he was the one who really manipulated things, really pushed and sold this lie of abortion on the American people. But when he became pro-life, he told the truth about it. He exposed it all, and we have those facts now. Terry's helping to share that truth. We need to know it. We need to be able to be equipped with that, to share it with others. Here she is, Terry Beatley.
I'm at a prayer vigil in November of '09, and I am begging the Lord to give me direction on what am I supposed to do with the research and with his amazing experiences of crossing the racial and political divide. At least this was in Virginia. And all I could hear was go interview Dr. Bernard Nathanson. And I sat back in the chair and I said, Lord, why would Dr. Nathanson say yes to my request? Now, I'm making the assumption you know who I'm talking about. Raise your hand if you feel like you generally know the story. Raise it high, because I love to survey the audiences. Now, Jim, look around. This is your pro-life activist base, and I would say at the most it's 50% maybe, and that's not meant with a criticism. It's just how the media wants to keep it, okay? And this is why. The Lord told me to go interview Dr. Bernard Nathanson in April of '09. I ended up interviewing him in December of '09, December 1st, which, by the way, is exactly 12 years to the day the Supreme Court heard the Dobbs decision. And you'll understand in a second why that's so key. But Dr. Nathanson was the father of America's industry of abortion. You see, back in the late 1960s, he co-founded with Lawrence Lader the organization that we call today NARAL or NARAL, Pro-Choice America. That was the first pro-abortion political action organization. Because up until that point, the pro-abortion movement was extremely fractured. So Lawrence Lader knew he needed to have an OBGYN doctor as the front person for this pro-abortion revolution. And what a better person than a fellow New Yorker who was an OBGYN, Dr. Nathanson. So Lawrence Lader invited him out, and the rest is history. Just like the Center for Medical Progress over glasses of wine, they masterminded how to get abortion legalized all across the country, but first starting in the state of New York. Dr. Nathanson also went to Planned Parenthood in January of 1970 in New York and begged Planned Parenthood of New York to join with NARAL to get abortion legalized in the state of New York. And you know what Planned Parenthood told Dr. Nathanson? No. They said no. So they waited. Planned Parenthood waited. That doesn't mean they were pro-life. Of course, we all know they were not. But Nathanson forged ahead. Governor Rockefeller legalized it in the state of New York in April of 1970. And who did Dr. Nathanson get a phone call from? Planned Parenthood. They wanted him to train their doctors on how to do just this, as you're witnessing. So for the next 2.5 years, Dr. Nathanson trained Planned Parenthood doctors on how to slaughter babies in the womb, while he also ran the largest abortion mill in the Western Hemisphere. This doctor personally killed 5,000 babies. He trained doctors on another 10,000 babies, and then he ran the largest abortion mill, never call it a clinic because it's not, for another 60,000 babies. So nobody can out-abort Dr. Bernard Nathanson, but you know, we serve an awesome God, right? Whether we recognize that we serve the Lord or not, but God had his hand on Dr. Nathanson because he was an atheist Jew, and when we got Roe v. Wade, he celebrated it, January 1973. He quit the abortion mill, and he went to become the chief of obstetrics at St. Luke's Hospital in New York City. They were birthing babies, and they were aborting babies. But 6 months or so later, the hospital rolls in a brand new technology, as you probably, many of you know, real-time ultrasound. And what happens? The father, and I'm sharing these details with you, because what did Jesus use? He used the power of story, parables, to grab people's attention, to teach them something of utmost importance. Because I will submit to you right now, our Lord is making beauty out of the ashes of the conversion story of America's abortion king. And America doesn't even know, and I've got all the stats on it. So Dr. Nathanson sees that baby for the first time on real-time ultrasound, and when I sat with him on December 1st, I said, Dr. Nathanson, what did you think when you saw that baby for the first time on this brand new technology? And he said, Terry, real-time ultrasound was the bomb. It made everything come alive. And that's when I asked him, how many babies are you responsible for? And he gave me those numbers that I just gave you. So what happened is, and this is what America does not know, is that at the end of the interview, I said, Dr. Nathanson, if you have a message for America, tell me what it is. And I will commit the rest of my life to delivering it across our country until it becomes common knowledge, or until Roe v. Wade is overturned, or I die, whichever one comes first. I didn't put that one in the book. And he said, and I didn't know what he would say. He was 83. He was terminally ill with cancer. He had not granted an interview in over a year. And by that point, 52 million babies had died. And Dr. Nathanson said yes. He said, continue teaching the strategy of how I deceived America. And then tell America that the co-founder of NARAL says to love one another. Abortion is not love. Stop the killing. The world needs more love, and I'm all about love now. It's a love message. And I shook his hand, and it was a 1-hour interview. His wife walked me to the door because he was very, very tired, and she winked her eye, and she said, well, good luck on that promise. So I'm standing at this condo building in New York City, and the door closes, and I stood there staring at the door thinking, oh my gosh, what have I done? But you know what? Hillary Clinton is helping me with that promise. Let me explain why. Somebody said, Terry, go back and listen to Rick Santorum debate Hillary Clinton when they were both senators. And this comes from when they were debating the partial birth abortion bill in the U.S. Senate. And I listened to that and I thought, oh my gosh, thank you, Jesus. Because she said, I don't think we've done enough to educate the American public what's really at stake in this debate over choice. So I say, thank you, Senator Hillary Clinton, Vice Presidential candidate Hillary Clinton, because that's the job of Hosea Initiative, is to make sure every single American knows this conversion story of the father of America's industry of abortion, because his story doesn't stop there. Yes, he was a he was an atheist Jew. Yes, he was responsible for, and he admitted it in a quote, they founded NARAL to unleash their abortion mentality across the land. And they use lies and propaganda to deceive the highest courts of our land and the American public, which you have many of those in that little booklet. But God's using all of this because he became a Christ follower. He became Catholic on December 8, 1996. All right? So, yes, that is definitely worthwhile, right? Okay. And, you know, we see the horrible pictures. We know the reality of abortion. And I know, because I've traveled and I've surveyed in like 35 states, and we know that 92 to 95% of frontline pro-life activists don't even know about Dr. Bernard Nathanson. They may have heard his name, but they don't know his story. So the mission at Hosea, through all sorts of things I'm not going to get into, but that's what we do, is we educate. And we are seeing 180-degree turns in people's position on killing babies. I'm talking, doesn't matter race, doesn't matter political persuasion. They're flipping when they read that little booklet. So gentlemen and ladies, we need to get bold with the truth, because if Dr. Bernard Nathanson can do a 180-degree turn, humble himself, repent for his ways, we stand a great chance of being able to take what he left behind, convert hearts with the power of story, convert hearts with the power of loving other people with the truth. Be bold. Don't just hand somebody a Mafa 21 DVD. Sit down with them. Sit down with that booklet and walk them through it and watch the fruit. It's low-hanging fruit. I mean, it's like this tree that we're standing underneath, and that fruit is just right here.
All right, so there's Terry Beatley. The website is hosea4u.org. That's Hosea, the number 4YOU.org. That little booklet that she mentions, I highly recommend it. We were giving these out during the Men's March and Rally, and it's called Fact Check, Who Was America's Abortion King? And it's a very short little booklet, but it's packed with facts that you really want to know and to be able to share. I also highly recommend, while you're there at hosea4u.org, getting this fact check booklet about Dr. Bernard Nathanson. And you would also get this other fact check booklet about Marxist feminism's ruined lives. This is also a very powerful book to understand what has taken place in our culture with respect to Marxist feminism. This is very much a part of all of this, and so we need to understand what has happened. We need to be equipped with the facts in order to be able to make sense of things and to be able to share things quite eloquently, more and more eloquently. You might think, like, I can't really speak to any of this very eloquently to people. Yes, you can. Start with whatever you've got, with whatever you know. You know the truth about when life begins. It begins at conception, fertilization, and you can go from there. It's wrong to murder innocent human beings. And if you get this fact check booklet with Dr. Nathanson, you can speak more eloquently about those facts, like this one, where he used false, he reported false polling statistics and got the media to run with this over and over and over again. So he reported to the media that 60% of all Americans wanted universal abortion on demand legalized. What was the truth? The truth was only 0.1% of Americans in the late 60s and early 70s wanted abortion on demand legalized. He just made it up. 60% of Americans want this, and the media was glad to run with it and say, we've got a source that tells us, and it's Dr. Bernard Nathanson, a medical doctor. Let's listen to him. He knows what he's talking about. 60% of American people want this. It was a complete and total fabrication and lie. They still use the same playbook on so much of all of this. They're still trying to say that Americans want Roe v. Wade, but the fact is that when you really get into the details, Americans do not want abortion on demand. We're going to be right back. Stay tuned.
You can listen to any of our network-produced programs at your convenience, wherever you enjoy podcasts. Hear a powerful sermon you need to share with a loved one? Maybe there's a guest or teaching segment that deserves another listen. You can find all of our shows on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Podcasts, our website, and the free iCatholic Radio app. Be uplifted in your faith. Listen today at thestationofthecross.com or on your favorite podcasting platform.
Hello, this is Steve Gleason with your 1-minute tool for Catholic evangelism. Here's the question for your non-Catholic friend. According to 1 Corinthians 11, receiving communion in an unworthy manner can result in sickness and or death. If communion is simply wafer and juice as opposed to body and blood, isn't the possibility of sickness and or death seem just a little over the top? So here's your 3 friendship tools for Catholic evangelism. First off, in the Bread of Life discourse, Jesus says, quote, "He that eats my flesh and drinks my blood dwells in me and I in him." Note, he said, "Drink my blood, not your wine or your grape juice." Well, no commentary needed there. Secondly, you gonna walk? The disciples did not walk away from Jesus over a symbolic teaching of body and blood, or that feeding on Christ is feeding on the Bible. No. And thirdly, a pesky comeback would be good. When you're asked, "Hey, have you received Christ?" your answer is yes, every Sunday at Mass. That's how I know objectively that Christ is in me.
As a nonprofit lay organization financially independent from your diocese, our apostolate is listener-supported. Through your generosity, we are able to inspire countless listeners with the gospel message and help lead them to a parish to be spiritually nourished by the sacraments. The Station of the Cross thanks our supporters who have enabled us to broadcast Catholic programs for more than 20 years. Thank you for your continued support, and may God bless you and your family.
Simple Truth. Jim Havens here, talking about highlights from this past National Men's March to End Abortion from a couple Saturdays ago in Tallahassee, and the personhood rally that was a part of this, giving you some clips, some highlights from the featured speakers that were part of that personhood rally. They are very, very powerful, and this last one may be the most powerful of all. I know that many people greatly enjoyed this testimony by Evan Messina. We're going to get to it in just a moment, but just real quickly to set this up, understand that that people who have Down syndrome are being murdered in the wombs of their mothers at staggering rates. In the United States, I've seen numbers that may say 60%, all the way up to like 92% of children in the womb who have Down syndrome are being murdered in the womb by abortion. In other countries, we have reports here of from the lifeinstitute.net. In Britain, 90% of babies diagnosed with Down syndrome are aborted before birth. In Denmark, 98% of children. In Iceland, almost 100% of babies with Down syndrome are aborted. This is as barbaric as it gets. This is eugenics. This is just wrong. Saying that because somebody has Down syndrome, a person has Down syndrome, that somehow makes them less than and we can now murder them. What is wrong with us? What is going on here? We have to really see these things for what they are and say no more. This has to end. I don't know what's been going on for decades and decades. People have been fighting the good fight. Let's get together now and do what we can to push forward to the end of this barbarity. So let's hear from Evan Messina, who made it out of the womb, a person with Down syndrome. Let him speak for himself. His voice needs to be heard. Here he is, Evan Messina.
What I have to say to myself, I believe that we are made in God's image. Look at that photo. Look at that photo. There's God right there. There's God right there. It's God created us equal. And God said the just will live by faith. And when he said that, he gave us the rule that we should live as humans. Look at all of us. Look at all of us. We're born as humans. And these kids, these young kids, I believe that whatever this is evil. This is satanic. I, for once, have to say one thing. I am pro-God and pro-life. Yeah. I want to stay that way. Yeah. I want to say that everyone here, that on behalf of people with disabilities, that we believe that in God's name, he can save us. Why? We know that we were free from the house of bondage. God did that. God said, I will set you free from the house of Egypt. Now, this is what Pharaoh wants. I don't want that for me. I am a human. I am born a human. And I will live to the end of the world. And I am a Christian. I am a person of faith. I am 17 years old. I've accomplished a lot of things in my life. I'm at a great school. I have a great life. Not only that, even though I was born with disability, I believe they have a life as well. I believe it. I believe that they have a life. So that means, for me, as a speaker, we need to defend not just these, but people with disabilities. God bless you all. God bless America.
Evan Messina giving some testimony there. He is a person with Down syndrome saying, I am human. I deserve to live. I'm glad that I'm alive. I love my life. What are we doing? Mass murdering children in the womb, especially these staggering rates of those who have diagnosed with disability in the womb, especially those diagnosed with Down syndrome in the womb. The doctor just says, hey, why don't we just check to do this simple test on your fetus, right? And then, your child has Down syndrome. When should I schedule the abortion? How evil. How evil, right? As Evan said in his testimony there, this is satanic. This is absolutely satanic that we think we're any more valuable than any other human being, any other human person. Why? Because we're bigger, because we're older, because we're stronger, therefore we can murder one another. It's completely upside down, completely evil. This is going on in this time. This is legalized. How can this be? Right? Do not fall for this lie. Do not allow it to be normalized in your own heart and mind. This ongoing mass murder is taking place by the thousands every single day in the U.S., by the hundreds of thousands every single day worldwide. Jesus said to us in Matthew 25, whatever you do for the least of these, you do it unto me. Whatever you do not do for the least of these, you did not do unto me. And your judgment is tied to this, right? So look, if we don't love enough to get involved, shame on us. But at least let us care enough about our own eternal judgment, perhaps, where that motivates us. But look, we ought to be motivated by love. We ought to be compelled by love and to see other human beings being mass murdered on our watch at this time in human history. When people say, oh, don't worry about that, they're not human, or they don't matter. They may be human, but they're less than us. They're less than human persons like us. Therefore, we can do what we want. All of these things are lies. The truth is very simple, and our responsibility is very simple. We cannot stand for it. We've got to band together, whether it's with the Men's March or some other initiative, getting out in front of your local abortion center and trying to reach out to pregnant moms in need, volunteering at pregnancy help centers, doing whatever we can. We must all get involved. There is a role that we all must play. And so, men, this is our business, right? This is our business. Ongoing mass murder of innocent human beings on our watch, in our backyards. This is our business. We are called to lead. Let's step up and lead and be the men that we are called to be. In doing that, we are going to make a massive impact, not just on those around us, but a massive impact within our own hearts and minds. There is grace that is poured out when we step forward in faith and love and do the good that we are called to with our Lord. So step forward in this way. The grace that will be poured out for you in this way is going to change you. It's going to transform you more and more to truly be the man that you are called to be, the man of integrity that you are called to be. And so we have to encourage one another in this. This is what the Men's March is all about. The National Men's March to End Abortion, the personhood rally that coincides with it. We started an abortion center. We march to a place of significance. In this case, it was in Tallahassee, the Florida capital. In D.C., it was the White House. In Baltimore, it was right outside of where the bishops were meeting for their fall assembly. In Boston, we're still gathering details about what we're going to be doing in Boston in early October. Pray for that. Pray for that initiative, that it would be exactly what God would want it to be. All we want to do is to do God's will. We know that this is wrong just based on natural reason alone, but God is also real, and he's pouring out supernatural graces that he wants us to participate with. So let us say yes to that and do the good that he is prompting us to do with him for his glory, according to his good and holy will. This is what we want. So pray for this now, right? Prayer is important. Prayer does change things. We have to do more than just pray oftentimes. And certainly this is one of those areas where we have to do more than just pray, but prayer is the foundation. And so I want to call all of us on to pray, especially for not only the end of abortion, making it illegal in law, unthinkable in culture. We should be praying for that. We ought to be praying for that every single day and offering reparation for this evil that is being committed on a daily basis. But also pray specifically for the planning right now that is going into the next National Men's March and Personhood Rally in Boston, Massachusetts, early October. This is what's stirring right now. This is what is on the table, what the planning is going on regarding right now, Boston, early October. We want to get it right. We want simply to do what God wants us to do, nothing less, nothing more. We want to glorify him and do the good that he is calling us to do, to be the men that he is calling us to be in the specific way that he wants us to do it with respect to the Men's March and the rally in early October in Boston. So please pray. We need your prayers right now on this. And when the information becomes available about the details, please do what you can to spread the word. Please do what you can to join us and to be there. We need to gather together to be able to look at one another in the eye and to be shoulder to shoulder with one another, getting to know each other, encourage one another on as we go. This is what it's all about. To God be the glory. God's will be done. God bless you.